Welcome to the Lindsay and Tony podcast, where we talk about spirituality, business, and life experiences.
In this podcast, we're bringing our private conversations to you.
We believe that it's through discussion, action, and reflection that true change occurs.
Hi everybody, welcome to episode 13, Living as an Empath. In this episode, we talked about all the struggles that you encounter on a daily basis as an empath and different solutions that you can plug into your everyday routine in order to help you live as an empath. Enjoy this show, everybody.
Hi guys, welcome back. We are so happy that you're here. Today we are talking all about empaths, which is one of the topics that Tony and I always talk about because we are empathic people.
Yes, so we have no choice but to talk about it. So when I first met Lindsay, I didn't realize I was an empath. If you would have told me that, I would have thought you were calling me like a psychopath or, you know what I'm saying? That kind of word sounds funny. But then I started to realize what empathy means and what an empath is. And right when I read the definition, or right when I think Lindsay might have told me about it, I can't remember exactly where I first heard it, I was like, that's me. So somebody who feels somebody else's emotions. And that's what empathy is. And everybody has this ability to feel somebody else's emotions, but if you were like how I was when I first met Lindsay back in 2010, oh my goodness, I would walk into a room and it would just overwhelm me and I would get anxiety. And back then, I would refer to it as, I would think in the back of my head, is this social anxiety? And I'd be like, no, I'm not antisocial. I love being social. And I started to realize this always happened when I'd go inside places. And anyways, empath, living out as an empath, if you're not aware of it and you don't understand what's actually happening when you're soaking in people's emotions, and you don't understand how to turn that on and turn that off, it could be a rough existence.
Yes. So one of the things that you could feel as an empath, I think getting clear on, am I an empath or am I not an empath? Everyone is an empath, I believe. I feel like we all take on the energy of other people around us, but then there's a difference because some people actually use their empathic nature to fuel them. They could actually feel something that's surrounding them. They can walk into a room and use that energy to their advantage, whether it's being extra loud, being more expressive, or they can use it to actually fuel themselves in a different way. Now, sometimes I truly believe that there's certain people that will actually use addiction when they don't know that they're empathic. So they'll take on the energy of everyone around them. They think that they're depressed, but it's really the people around them and it gets them depressed. So they try to block out the noise of everything that's happening around them so that they can process what's right in their own mind. So that can happen. So I think it's really important for you to know the different signs that come up if you feel like you're tuning into other people's energy. And that would be, sometimes you might feel drained. Other times you might not want to go out in public, into crowded places. Can you think of any other?
Yeah, so you brought up a good point with being an empath, because a lot of people tie that to introverts.
Yeah. Right?
I hear that all the time, that, oh, they're empathic, they must be an introvert, which that's not true, because like you were just saying, you could be very social, or you could think of somebody who's really social all of the time, and they could be an empath and not even know it, because they're soaking in the energy, and then they're using that to speak, is what you were saying. Yeah. Pretty much. And I find that interesting, because I never would have thought that that's what was happening, but that is what is happening with a lot of people, and you could tell when it is. And then on the other end, you have people like what I used to do. Actually, now that I think about it, I used to do a little bit of both. Like sometimes when I'd go in places, I'd be talking a lot, and that's what I was doing. I didn't realize it, and I started to get in the zone. And then other times I would just like clam up, and I'm like, oh man, this is overwhelming. And I would just be soaking in all of the energy. So that's interesting how it could go to both sides of introvert or extrovert.
Yes, I know. And I think some of the things, Tony and I have both done this before, was we would kind of dim our lights when we were around certain people. Mm-hmm. So if they were extra loud, it might cause us to kind of dim our light. I feel like a while ago that would have happened. It could
All
have
of
been,
the time.
yeah.
It would have happened with me all of the time.
And then when you dim your light and you're not actually living in your truth and living in your power and saying what you want to say, that's the thing that drains you. So it actually, if you use your, I would say, intuition and use your own soul and just allow yourself to really, to speak, to say what you want and not feel uncomfortable, that's actually going to give you energy in itself just by being yourself.
Exactly. And that's the number one thing. That's why they say if you know yourself, then everything else in life, it always goes back to knowing yourself. And once you know exactly who you are, you start to express yourself fully, and then you don't hold back. You don't soak in everybody's energy. You start to be able to use that gift of empathy without it being a double-edged sword. So you're able to tune in with people, speak with them, sense their emotions, take a little bit, to add to the conversation and add to what you're doing. And that's a skill. And that's exactly why we did this episode, because I believe, and Lindsay believes, it's very, very important to educate yourself on this topic and understand how to use your intuition, which Lindsay has an excellent course on that, Unlock Your Intuition. And like I said, Lindsay, and I'm talking to everybody here, she's been a huge component with me learning how to get a hold of my intuition. And the reason why I'm bringing up intuition is because that is what gives us our ability to feel other people's emotions. And when I first met Lindsay back in 2010, I always had my intuition on, and I didn't know about it. And it'd either be all the way on, or I would just shut down.
Yeah.
And be all the way off. I had two extremes back then. And I believe that I have a strong intuition because of sports. Sports really built my instincts. Basketball, I can remember being on the basketball court and just feeling where everybody was. And I'd make these passes without even looking. And everybody would ask, how did you do that? And it was thoughtless. I was using my intuition. So I got really good at mastering it on the basketball court. But when it came to my life, I was not good at it all when I first met you, was I?
No, you were he was totally tuned in intuitive.
I mean, I was very intuitive, but what I meant by that was I wasn't good at turning it on and off when I needed it. That was the part that Lindsay taught me.
Yeah, I kept on saying, because he's like, he came into town from St. Louis not knowing anyone in Tampa, and when he came in, he's like, I just need, to process what's happening. There's a huge change. I left my hometown. I never moved out of state, and so when he moved to Tampa, I was so used to being around a bunch of people. I had a bunch of friends. We would go to different parties, and he's like, I just need to be away from a big group of people. Because he said he was feeling so overwhelmed energetically, and that's when we talked about how he was so open to feeling everything, especially being that vulnerable. If you're in your life and you have a huge change, you're going to be extra sensitive. So he would feel everything, and it made it feel like it was anxiety, when really it was probably picking up on the emotions of everyone else while feeling
it was anxiety, but that's what created the anxiety. Yeah. It's because I was open to everybody else's emotions, because I did have anxiety, very strong anxiety.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because I'm an antisocial person. I'm a social person. Like, I like talking with people. It was, I didn't understand how to turn my intuition on and off. And then over the years, Lindsay began to teach me different ways to do that, and I started to get better at it. And not only that, I started to apply it into my life. So I started to apply it when I was in the school systems teaching, and me using that and using my intuition as a gift, that is what really propelled my ability to handle my intuition. And I think that's God's gift to me, saying, hey, thank you for using your gift.
Yeah.
And I think that's what happens. And I think the ability to have empathy and to feel intuitively is such a valuable gift. And once we start to use it, we start to become fulfilled. We start to do things that we never thought we'd be able to do, like maybe speak in front of 5,000 people or be in a room of 1,000 people and just feel energized the whole time. And that's me now. Not every time. There's still some times to where I walk in a room and I'm like, oh man, I'm not, my intuition, but I know how to adjust it. That's the thing. I'm aware of it, And then right when I know that it's open, I'm like, oh, I can't do this right now. I'll go and I'll make sure I'm prepared for whatever I got to do to where it's not open, and
Right.
how it used to be.
And you never have to shut off your intuition, but you could shut off the energetic like flow of feeling everyone else's stuff. Your intuition's constantly working, but you don't have to like tap into other people. And that's like a big thing, is when you open up to tap into the other people. And I feel like Tony's taught me a lot about using my physical body to actually help release the energy to re-energize me, which is so important. And I know you talked about my course, Unlock Your Intuition, but you have another course that's almost out, that's going to be out, maybe even by the time this airs, actually.
It probably will be, yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's all about for empaths and how to use the energy that you have within you and outside of yourself to really energize yourself. And there's so many ways to do that. But I did want to kind of jump into something that was interesting. Heartmap did a study with a boy and his dog, and I thought it was really funny because it makes sense. As humans, we know this makes sense. But they put an ECG on both the boy and the dog, and the boy was in another room, and the dog was in another room. And the boy walked into the room, saw the dog, and kept on giving love and made this connection with his dog. And right when he did that, they actually noticed that the heart rate started to change, and both of the heart rates became more coherent. So, which was interesting, because the boy felt one thing, and then all of a sudden the dog pretty much matched that boy. And it reminds me of our dog Romeo. It's like the moment we spot him, we feel this love, and our body opens up and our energy changes. And I know that he feels it too. Us being so sensitive, we know he feels it, and we could feel his love too. But if we can do that with dogs when we come into a room, and we can feel an energetic feeling and a love pull to dogs, imagine what it's like when we go into a room and we're around certain people. So it could work oppositely too. If you're feeling that love towards someone, they'll feel that love from you. And then if you're feeling extra sensitive, highly sensitive, and maybe you're feeling emotional that day, if you walk into a room, they can feel that too. They're probably like, okay, why does that vibe feel different, when I'm around this person? So it's something to think about when you are picking up on other people's energy, and also taking responsibility for your own energy when you walk into a room too.
That's an excellent point. And it made me, as you were saying that, when you walk into a room, it was making me think of, when you walk into a room, you're either bringing your impact in the room and bringing your energy to it, or the room's impacting you.
Yes.
And I know that it goes simultaneously, like it's happening both sides, but what we're talking about here is like what you were referring to. So when I would walk into a room, it would be my intuition was open. I was just sensing the room out. That's what I was doing. And I think it was like, because growing up, it was like I was taught to do that in my household, to walk in and I would have to sense people's emotions to figure out how to talk to certain people. Mm-hmm. So it's like a skill from there, from my upbringing, and from sports too. Sports was a huge thing for it. But anyways, I would walk into a room and I would, rather than bringing my energy to impact the room, I would go in, all right, let me sense out everybody else's energy. So I think that's the difference too, is like having a good balance between the two and tuning into your intuition and knowing when to bring your energy to it and when to soak it in. It's like a good yin and yang, or yin and yang.
Yep. Oh, I love that. That makes so much sense. And also when you just said that too, with having that balance of the back and forth, knowing that once you're aware that you're empathic, once you're aware of that, you can say, oh, that's not my energy. Like I can tune into that and tap into walking into someone's house and feel that. But knowing, oh, okay, I know myself and I know what I was feeling before I walked in here, so I know this is not connected to me. Isn't that a huge thing?
It's a huge thing. That was the biggest aha that I got, was that this is not me. So when I'd feel that, I was able to disconnect, like, from my body, as crazy as that sounds. Maybe not to our watchers, but to other people. And I would like just look at it like, that's interesting. Like, it's information. Like I was reading a book. That's all it is. It's like I was reading information. And once I started to look at it that way, I was able to experience other people's energy without really internalizing it.
Yes. Yeah, that's so huge.
So it was huge. It was more like, here, I'm just a vessel, kind of like a TV's a vessel to get a channel. I'm a vessel to get a feeling. It comes through. I don't have to soak it in internally, but I can let it go through my vessel, watch it, study it a little bit, and let it go out. The same way that you do a reading or, anybody else uses their intuition.
Yes. Oh, I love that. That's so true. That's so true. And I think that when you're working out too, then you're using your energy. When you're walking outside, there's thoughts that can flow in. Even negative self-talk could come in when you're exercising, and then it leaves you. It's like, it moves the energy. And Tony is the one that taught me about that, because for me, I knew exercise was important, but I didn't know how important it was for my energy too, which is a huge thing.
It is a huge thing, and that's a huge thing that came across my life is this guy named Elliot Hulse. He lives in St. Petersburg, Florida, and he does a thing called Strength Camp. You might know him. He's a YouTube star, and he's on Facebook. But anyways, I was watching a few of his videos, and he said something. He said, "Your body is your mind." And when I heard that, everything clicked. I was like, "Oh my God, that makes so much sense." That's why working out and all that is so valuable and taking care of your body, because the same way that everybody teaches us to take care of our thoughts and what you focus on you become, well, you look at your body like it's a thought, and you're able to manipulate that thought however you want. And the better you manipulate that thought, the better every other part of your mind works.
Yes.
Or the better everything else in your life will work. So it's looking at our body as empaths and looking at it as a tool to kind of release the energy that we've been soaking in throughout the day, and a tool to sharpen our minds.
Yes, that's so true. So I know some people listening are probably thinking, well, what can I do if I'm an empath and I'm a highly sensitive person? I feel overwhelmed going into, Target or Walmart or malls. What can I do? And I feel like, what would you suggest the first thing? I know we mentioned moving your body.
As an empath, well, I mean, I think it's all the advice we're given, this is good for everybody, but especially empaths, like grounding your energy, because although I said that I'm really good at this now, at turning my intuition on and off, I still soak in a lot of energy to where there's certain days to where I'm like, oh man, I've soaked in way too much. And I need to go ground, and every day I ground, but there's certain days where I got to do it more often. And basically what grounding is you just take off your shoes and socks and you walk on the grass, or you walk on, my favorite, the sand by the ocean, and you could even walk into the ocean if you can. But basically you just find a piece of nature and you just touch it, and you break you don't have anything between it, no rubber or anything, no shoes, and you just touch nature. And then it's the earth. Basically, I feel like it kind of absorbs your negative energy, and then it also recharges you. So it's kind of like, it's like a circulation of
it's like stagnant energy.
Right. So that's one way you can ground, and there's several other ways to ground your energy too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and you can also even like looking outside at a tree, like we're sitting in here in this room and I could see the tree right out the window. I can imagine my energy from my body and my eyes going to the tree and just allowing it to just becoming aware of it and tuning into it. It's recharging me. It's releasing any stagnant energy. Because like when I think of negative energy, I think of, I don't know, I don't like the term, even though it's the same difference. It's stagnant energy.
Or whatever you want, stagnant, yeah. Stagnant, negative.
I know, it's just like another word. But I feel as though just the intention of wanting to recharge, just paying attention to that, that's huge for grounding too. Even the dogs, the animals, all animals are very grounding. So petting an animal, taking an animal for a walk, just allowing yourself to do these things and to tune into that unconditional love. Because a lot of the times we can do it with humans. We can look at someone and smile and it could change our heart rate. But sometimes an animal is good because they don't talk back. And so it makes us more grounded, and it could really calm us down. As he's snuggling up, Romeo's snuggling up on the couch as we're talking.
Yeah, just staring at him is grounding too. So Lindsay was talking about, you could just stare at a tree, you could just stare at a dog, like watching him sleep. It's very grounding.
Yes.
To my energy.
Mm-hmm.
So There's all different ways. I think just being in the present moment, you ground yourself. And I think that's a big thing, what you were just talking about, Lindsay, is paying attention, like the trees or nature and everything, they could sense when we're giving them attention. And I think they like that. So I think that's what that circulation is, like anything that we're giving our attention to, it likes it. So it's like, all right, here, I'll give you some attention back.
That's what I feel. I feel like I talk to the trees outside, and I'll actually imagine sending the trees energy, and I say thank you after. And I feel that, like this tree out here outside of our place, I love this tree so much, and I talk to it all the time. And one day I looked at the bark, like, you know, the trunk of it, and I saw there was a chip on the bark. It was in a perfect heart. Do you remember that? It was there for a while. But it's important to talk to things in nature, even stars. I feel an energy connection to the stars, to the moon, and that sort of thing. So if you're an empath, use nature to help recharge yourself. And this means really taking time to be by yourself, because that's a big thing for me. I need to recharge without any humans around me. So I usually have like a 2-hour window, like 2 hours I hang out with people, and then I'm like, okay, I need to go outside, or it's like clockwork. Don't
Even
you find
me,
that?
yeah, we only spend about 2 or 3 hours, and then we break apart, and I go bike ride.
Yeah, he goes bike
or work
riding,
out, and then she goes and
whatever, read a book,
does whatever she does.
So it's something that, you know, it's one of those things that you kind of have to know your limits too. Just know what your body is feeling, and just listening to us talk about this is actually going to help you be really, really clear on when you're feeling that drained feeling. So the next time you walk into a room, ask yourself, or before you walk into a room, how am I feeling before you actually go into a space? And then you'll know the difference. Was I feeling the same, or did my energy shift when I walked in?
And that's a huge part. If you're always got a lot going on in your mind, and you've got so much going on in your body, it's going to be hard to tell the difference between your intuition and so it's all about knowing yourself and, you know, calming yourself down enough to where you could sense that. You could sense what's going on. You have body awareness, and then you're able to go and navigate and actually start to sense other people's energy as well, and know the difference.
Yes.
So I was going to add another thing. Oh, another huge thing about this is to celebrate being an empath. Like, to be happy about the fact that you have this ability to feel other people's energy. Because I used to tie so much negative thoughts to this gift that I didn't even know I had then. Because if a friend would ask me to go out, or Lindsay would ask me to go out, and I didn't feel like it at the time, I'd feel like, oh man, what am I, antisocial? And I'd have all these bad thoughts about why I wasn't going out. Now I honor my energy, because I love who I am, and I love that I have this ability, because I know that it's a true gift and I'm able to use it. So now if I don't feel like going out, I happily say no, and I don't feel bad about it at all.
Yeah.
I'm just like, no, tonight's not the night that I go out.
That's true. You do that. Even when I try to get him to come out, he's like, no, I'm not feeling it. So, and it's true. We have to honor our own energy, and it will shift everything. A lot of problems that empaths have are they feel guilty after they actually say no, or they feel guilty after speaking up. And it's time to own your power, feel comfortable saying no, feel really good about it, and feel energized and know that you're doing a good service for yourself and for the other people that you'd be hanging out with. If you were in the room with them, they would be miserable because they'd feel your energy that way.
Exactly. And quit being a people pleaser.
Yes, we both.
Because a lot of empaths are people pleasers, because you're like us, where you're like, you would say something to somebody that you'd say yes or no or whatever, and then you'd feel their energy of their response, even if you weren't with them, because so when you feel people's energy, you could feel it. Even like I'm in Tampa, I could feel people's energy in St. Louis. So space doesn't matter between.
It doesn't.
So we got to remember that too. But a lot of times we end up becoming people pleasers because we'll feel somebody wanting us to do something, and then we'll be like, oh, we can't let them down.
Yes.
But no, you can't let yourself down, because if you let yourself down and you're always trying to please everybody else, you're not going to be able to use your gift to feel other people's emotions, because you're going to be so overwhelmed trying to please everybody else that you're not going to even be in tune with your gift at all.
That's so true. I feel like we covered a lot today, so you might have to listen to this episode more than once when you're listening to it, because I feel like there's a lot of information, and I'm sure you're thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, that sounds like me, because most of our people are exactly very similar to us, have the same.
They are, yeah.
Same
We
feelings.
draw a lot of similar people. A lot of people that are drawn to us are highly sensitive, intuitive, and they could feel other people's emotions for sure.
Definitely.
We noticed.
So I think we covered everything today, right?
We did. So some action steps. I know we mentioned a few already, but let's
Mm-hmm.
just end it with a few action steps to do. I would definitely say to every day ground your energy. Even if you take 15 minutes a day, or even if, say that sounds like too long for you, do 10 minutes a day and take off your shoes and socks and walk on the grass or walk on some part of earth that feels comfortable to you, or put your hands on a tree or some part of nature, or just pet your dog for maybe 5 or 10 minutes. Do something that is grounding your energy. How do you know it's grounding your energy? Because you start to feel a release, and you'll start to feel like a fulfillment of energy filling your body, like water filling your body, but it's actually like positive, peaceful energy just coming through your body. You'll feel your anxieties and everything releasing from you as you do it. So I would say to do that.
And yawning, that happens like when I'm releasing, or I'll hiccup, or you could burp or something. Like, it's releasing energy.
Do it for us real quick.
No, oh my God, no, stop. So you can really, you'll notice the shift in energy for yourself. I think the last thing that you should do, or maybe it's the first thing, is actually comment underneath this video or this link and tell us, what were your aha moments, or how do you want to shift your energy, and share with us, because it's going to help someone else too.
Yeah.
So
thank you guys. Once again, we love when you share this with people, this podcast, because if it helped you, then go ahead and share it with other people. And any comments that you have, like Lindsay said, go ahead and put them, any questions or any aha moments or anything like that, put them in the comment section.
thank you guys. Have a good rest of the day. Bye.
Bye-bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we did. If you liked it, leave a 5-star review on iTunes, and remember, subscribe to our YouTube channel too.
If you can think of anyone else that would love this episode, share it with them right now on social media or email. And remember, getting results is a process of learning, applying, and reflecting. Stay consistent and continue to grow every day.